Hi, Danielle. How are you?
Hi, Mel. I'm good. How are you?
Well, I don't know what's going on tonight. It's going to be an interesting couple of podcasts that we're going to record. Because the energy is quite strange.
It's fun. It's actually like a silly energy, between us trying to push record 4 times and me being smoked out in my own room by incense. It's been an interesting combination of things to get this going, but here we are.
Here we are, and this is the beginning. This is an introduction, isn't it? Of the moon series that we're going to do over the next few months, looking at the full moon and the new moon. Yeah. And this is just really to give people an idea of how to approach it, why it can be something that can be helpful to consider in your everyday life, as well as we'll be looking at today's actual full moon too.
Yeah. Yep. So we are doing, as Mel said, a series based off the new moon and full moon. And I like to separate them as cycles because the new moon is a separate cycle for me than a full moon. And although the new moon brings in the intentions of what we want to do, the full moon is a full illumination of the intentions you could have set 2 weeks ago. Or in the case of, say the full moon we're experiencing now, 6 months ago. And, there's a lot of information out there about the moon itself. And so I grabbed just a little bit of information from the website on NASA. And the moon is the brightest and largest object in our night sky, making Earth a more livable planet by moderating our home planet's wobble on its axis, leading to a relatively stable climate. It also causes tides, creating a rhythm that has guided humans for thousands of years. So the moon is obviously something that even as a small child, we pay attention to. It's something that captivates our attention from the moment we see her to, if you're anything, which most of us are like me, enjoy watching the moon in all of her phases and the figure 8s that she does in the sky. And that's always been one of my favorite things when I see somebody kind of realizing the potency of the moon. And their first step is, did you guys know that the moon moves? And the moon does. She creates the infinity symbol inside of our sky, our night sky. And as she travels around Earth, and it's really a beautiful sight to behold. And so what we're going to be doing is every 2 weeks, we're going to have a conversation about this beautiful and wonderful moon of ours and how she is affecting our day in and day out movements, how she's impacting our daily habits that we carry, and how we can harness this energy based on it being inside of an intention where we are setting up where we want to be versus when she's in her fullest illumination, and we're kind of taking that review and how that manages to make huge differences based on where she is in her constellation, where she is in, say, your zodiac sign, right? So from a spiritual standpoint, the new moon is the perfect time to start a new project. Your energy from the last lunar cycle has been cleansed, giving you a spiritually clean slate. This means that it is the perfect time to set those intentions that you want to manifest for the coming cycle. Since the new moon is all about beginnings, it is reflected in the dark sky. It's ripe with creativity. We set intentions for the month, the cycle ahead. So for the next 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months, if you have a big project ahead during this time. Now, that's going to be the new moon. Now, when we talk full moon, the full moon is 2 weeks after the new moon. It allows for the full illumination reflected in her fullness in the night sky. This phase represents completion, fertility, abundance, and transformation when the seeds from the new moon come into bloom. Because the moon is directly opposite the sun during this phase, it can also be a time of friction, polarity, and more intense emotional energy. This is why we have those sayings like, it's a full moon out, watch out, watch for the crazies, because it's a very intense experience. I get really tired on the full moons. And I know that's because of the intensity of the energy that's coming through and how my body reacts to that. The full moon is a great time to take review of the process you've been in. If what you intended on the new moon is working, take the time to be grateful and reflective on what parts of that intention is working for you. If you find yourself in a more chaotic space, which we all do at some point, this is the perfect opportunity to do what we call surrender or release, let go of anything that isn't serving that purpose that you intended in the new moon. Every moon is under a specific constellation. During our bi-weekly podcast over this, we will discuss in detail the energies surrounding us and how to use them to our benefit. Be it to heal or to manifest, Mel and I have got you covered. So I'm really excited about this series.
Yeah, really me too. Because I think the more that we've got to know each other in our individual interests and perspectives is, this is thought of as just as a spiritual sort of process for a lot of people, but
for a lot of people,
influence that it does have in psychology has been for eons, like you said. People sort of associate the full moon, don't they, with craziness and ending up in asylums. So,
or think of the new moon, and the oldest drawings inside of the caves were of the new moon. So the moon has impacted not only the way climate works or the way the tides work, but the human body being made up of so much water. Of course, it affects the way we work as well. And so, although we haven't put in a lot of, in society, haven't put in a lot of psychological meaning behind the moon, the fact that we are so affected, as you said, the full moon can bring out the crazy, the chaos, that it clearly does affect us. And so we're just here to explore how it affects us, why it's affecting us, and how we can use this to our benefit, how we can work through, say, the shadows, these shadows that we talk about, the unconscious aspects of ourself, whenever we're in this certain alignment with constellations. And they really they're a powerful influencer in how we can harness who we are, what we represent, and how we can make a better impact in our daily life. And, I think this one excites me the most that we've been doing is having these conversations about the moon, because she just does not get the attention she deserves when it comes to psychology. And I think it's time that we change that.
Yeah. And I love the idea, like you say, of illuminating, because illuminating can be illuminating what's hidden, what isn't seen, things that are going on that you get more insight about, but also illuminating what's there that helps you shine a light on paving the way before you've taken those steps. So how you harness where you're at the moment, how that's influencing your own personal astrology sign, what other factors are you seeing? If we're talking through some of the things that we're seeing in our own lives, and people can sometimes resonate with that and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because we are moving on some level out of the individual into the collective, and things are affecting collective consciousness much more fully. And I think we're going to go into that, into the segment that we're going to do on the full moon.
Yeah. So that's the beautiful thing, is whenever we are learning more about how these affect society, the collective, whatever it is that you want to call them, you pay attention to this external experience. And when you pay attention to the external experience and then compare notes to what it is that that you can do on your own through Google research or Bing research or whatever, form of search engine you use, books, it does not matter. And you compare that to what, what's happening in this external world, you can start to see this reflection really shine a light. And this is what led me down this path. Was one day I kind of realized that they kind of compared. And then when I moved that into an internal focus, I then was able to make these giant leaps from the unconscious or the subconscious mind, which is what the moon represents anyways, and bring this into a bigger, a fuller view where I don't have the blind spots because it's in illumination, because I decided to take that focus. And as I say with everything else, you know, be it numbers, be it tarot cards, be it whatever divination or thought process that you have, regardless if it really works or not, if it forces you to think differently, then it's doing its job. Yeah. If I look at 1111 and change my thought pattern, because I know that this is a portal number, regardless of that, if that is truth or not, it's changed my mind and it's made me think differently. The same with the moon. Even if you don't believe in any of this, if you can trick your brain into saying this does have meaning, this is going to be meaningful for me, then you naturally find meaning to it. And it puts you into a different space where you can work towards these goals, work towards these things that you want to manifest, work on the healing that we're wanting done. And it's been a useful tool and for generations. But we're going to teach how to make this a useful tool for yourself in your personal life, and it will then ripple effect to those around you.
Yeah, and you're so right, because there are wide range of tools from a wide range of different models, whether that's astrology, numerology, the moon cycles, or all the different models that exist in psychology. And it's just really about understanding yourself more, understanding what influences you, your environment, yourself, your family, society, politics, everything like that. And then the interplay, as you said, between the two. And there is always an interplay. There's a microcosm and the macrocosm, and they talk about that across the different approaches, and that you can understand where you're at, but you can be so easily influenced by those other things. So it's creating a bit of, it's almost like what come into my mind was a sort of weather shield in a way. You know, it creates a bit of a sort of protection to help ward off what you don't necessarily want in your space, create some light and illumination to the things that maybe you want to have more answers to or see in a better way, and then some tools and techniques so that you are more empowered to navigate the path in the way that works for you.
Yeah. And on a lighthearted side, if you want to be a person with a couple of card tricks up your sleeve and say, hey, I can see the future, the new moon and the full moon is a great way to walk through and say, I can see in the future that you're going to be dealing with these issues on these dates, because now you have the ability to look towards, because the almanac's real, and moon and the lunar cycles are very much scientifically backed. And all you have to do is then compare it to where it's going to be in the zodiac sign. And now you can give yourself a beautiful parlor trick to teach your friends or to amaze your friends and say, guess what you're going to be working through. And now you seem like this psychic of all future seeing psychics, and it can be fun, you know? So it's at any level that you want to take this, you can really use it to your advantage in a grand scheme, down to, as you said, the macro versus the micro. And it can be a very interesting tool to use for yourself.
And it has been used by many a president or political engineer or, you know, behaviorist, psychologist. These ideas have been shared, and there's lots of people around that tap into what are their own, you know, what's their own astrology, what dates of the week are more auspicious to do certain things, what days do you avoid things on. Most of us know if, you know, if something's in retrograde, it may be that's why, you know, everything's packing up. Or so these are certainly cycles that can be useful for people to understand. But also I think just that journey we're excited about, aren't we? Bringing people on a journey that just brings these things, rather than thinking, is it weird, is it esoteric, is it wonderful, whichever, is whatever. Just tune in and see how the information that's shared about the energy around that applied to you, and then how you harness that to your benefit, whether or not
how you decide to ground in the information into this reality, right? Because this is every time you're given some new piece of information, it is up to you then to take that information from what I call air,
and decide from
up here and apply it into today and to your future and what you're going to be doing with that. And that's what we call grounding in what your thought pattern is. And so this information is just to hand to you. So you can either be filled with knowledge, or you can take this and really use it as a practice and improve your psychological and, that mental health that we are so desperately trying to achieve inside of society in today's age. And, now that we have the technology to produce this, why not? And so we really thought that this would be an amazing resource for everybody to have and have everybody to have access to, because we do deserve having as much information handed to us, and so that we can decide how we use it and what we want to do with it. And that's why we're doing this. Yeah.
That is life enhancing, not fear evoking.
Yes. Life enhancing, not fear evoking. That is beautifully said. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's what we want.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this series that we're doing. This doesn't have an end date. As long as the moon keeps shining and changing, we're here to talk about her and all of her magnificence. So I do look forward to these future episodes, and I hope that everybody decides to join us.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right. Thank you, Danielle. I look forward to the first episode that we're going to do on that.
Yeah, me too.